Chapter 5 Whispers in the Fog. Chapter 5 Whispers in the Fog. The next morning, Tim pulled up in front of Ronald's apartment building. 3 stories of tan brick and rusted balconies tucked behind a laundromat that never seemed to be open. Mist had been staying here the past few weeks, tucked safely away while Tim figured things out, or pretended he was still trying. Ronald answered the door in a wrinkled t-shirt and sweatpants, coffee in one hand, a pair of earbuds dangling from his neck. "You're alive," he said, "for now." Ronald stepped aside. "She's in the window. Hasn't stopped watching since you left." Mist sat perched on the sill, tail flicking once in greeting, eyes sharp. Tim crossed the room and scooped her up. She let out a soft chirp, then buried her head under his chin. "You're really doing this?" Ronald asked. "I think I already started." Ronald crossed his arms, leaning against the kitchen counter. "You sure this isn't just burnout with a supernatural flavor? You've been through a lot, Tim." "I know how it sounds." "I'm not trying to talk you out of it," Ronald said. "I'm just trying to figure out if I should be worried." Tim gave a tired smile. "You should have started worrying about me years ago." There was a silence between them, the kind filled with friendship that didn't need much explaining. "I don't know what it is I've found, Ron," Tim said, "but it's real, and it's not going away." Ronald nodded slowly. "Then take care of yourself, and take the damn cat." Ronald nodded. "Just don't end up on some blurry video titled Unsolved and Screwed." "No promises." Tim set Mist Carrier down by the door, packed with a blanket and a pouch of treats. He looked around the apartment one last time. Comfort, familiarity, a flash, uninvited. Tim and his ex-wife in that very apartment years ago, her pacing, shouting, something nonsensical, sharp. Then gone, replaced with warmth, laughter as if a switch had flipped. Back then, he thought it was mood swings. Now, he wasn't sure. Now he wondered what they'd both been living with and never named. Then back at Mist. Time to go, and together they left the city behind. They hit the road. Mist settled into the passenger seat like she'd always belonged there, curling into a soft spiral on top of Tim's jacket. Occasionally her ears twitched when the engine dipped or the wipers squealed, but mostly she slept. Tim couldn't. Ronald's voice kept echoing in his head. "You're really doing this?" He hadn't told him the details, not about the crying tree or the mirror that screamed, or the woman in red who vanished like smoke. How could he? Ronald was rational. Chemistry, not chaos. He'd listen, but he wouldn't believe. Still, Tim knew the question wasn't about belief. It was about cost. He passed a green road sign, Marsh Hollow, 12 miles car. That was the name from the Manila folder, the town where a hiker vanished, where people heard voices from the water. He flicked on the radio. Static. Then a local channel faded in. Sheriff's Department continues to search the northern shoreline after the disappearance of a second camper earlier this week. Locals have reported unusual fog activity in the area. Authorities have not confirmed whether the incidents are connected. Tim turned the dial down. Miss lifted her head, blinked slowly. "Yeah," Tim muttered. "I heard it too." The clouds had thickened. A low fog drifted just above the treetops now. Not enough to block the road, but enough to make the sky feel like it was pressing down. He glanced in the rear view. Just road. Just gray. But it felt like something was behind them anyway. He kept driving. Marsh Hollow didn't have a downtown so much as it had a diner, a gas station, and a bait shop that shared a parking lot with a church. The fog was heavier here, like it had decided this was where it lived now. Tim pulled into the diner lot around noon. The windows were steamed. A neon open sign flickered faintly in the haze. Inside, the air smelled like bacon grease and strong coffee. Booths lined the windows, and a few locals sat hunched over plates, speaking in low tones. He picked a seat near the end of the counter. Mist stayed curled in her carrier on the booth bench, peeking out through the mesh. A waitress in her late 40s approached. Short auburn hair, tired but kind eyes. Her name tag read Vicky. "What can I get you?" she asked, already pouring coffee. "Just information," Tim said. "Well, and cat food if you know a place." She raised an eyebrow but didn't flinch. "That your passenger?" He nodded. "Mist." Vicky smiled faintly. "Pretty. I'll see what I can dig up." She filled his mug and leaned on the counter. "You're not a hiker, are you?" "Reporter." "Better. Hikers disappear." Tim met her eyes. "That happen a lot?" "Not until lately. Last month, a girl from out of state. 2 days ago, a local. Kevin Hardy. Good kid. Knew the trails, didn't come back." "Anyone hear from them? Radio, phone, anything?" Vicky shook her head. Fog eats sound up there, and lately folks been saying it talks back. Tim sipped his coffee. What does the fog say? She leaned in. Some say it plays tricks on you, echoes, makes you hear voices, things from your own head. Mostly hikers just get turned around. Bad visibility, slick trails. It's not haunted, just mean. Tim finished his coffee and left a few bills on the counter. Vicky pointed him toward the sheriff's office, just 2 blocks down. It was a squat concrete building with tinted windows and a patchy lawn. Inside, the front desk looked like it hadn't been dusted since the 90s. A young deputy sat behind a chipped laminate counter, boots kicked up, flipping through paperwork. His nameplate read, "Do It." Tim approached slowly. "Hey, I'm doing a story on recent disappearances. Kevin Hardy. Mind if I ask a few questions?" DeWitt lowered the folder but didn't smile. "That's an open investigation. I understand. I'm not looking to publish anything sensitive, just trying to get a sense of what's going on." "You press?" Tim showed his credentials. "Independent. Research mostly." DeWitt looked him over. "Kevin went hiking up Ridgewater Trail. He knew it well. Wasn't the kind to get turned around." "Any signs of a struggle?" "No. That's the weird part. His dog came back on its own. Kevin didn't. No footprints past a certain point, like he just vanished. We brought out drones. Nothing." "Could I see the trailhead?" "One more thing," Tim added. "Anyone here know Kevin personally? Family? Friend?" DeWitt's expression tightened. "His sister, Kara Hardy, runs a gear shop near the bait store. Hardy Outfitters. You can't miss it." Tim nodded. "Thanks." DeWitt hesitated, then grabbed a brochure from the rack behind him and circled a spot on the map. "It's open to the public. Just don't make it worse for the search team." "You'll need boots," he said, "and probably a compass. GPS doesn't work for shit up there." Tim pulled into the nearest roadside motel on the edge of Marsh Hollow. The sign read Pine Nest Lodge in faded green paint. It looked clean enough. 2 stories, gravel lot, a small wooden office with wind chimes tapping in the breeze. He checked in under a pseudonym, dropped his bag in a room that smelled faintly of cedar and dust, and set Mist's carrier on the floor. She stepped out slowly, tail high, and sniffed the corners with cautious purpose. Tim filled her bowl with water, tore open a packet of wet food, and crouched next to her while she ate. "I missed you too," he said quietly. She didn't respond, but her purring filled the room. Only when she'd finished and curled into the sun patch near the window did he stand, grab his notepad, and head out toward town. The bell over the door jingled as Tim stepped into Hardy Outfitters. The place smelled like canvas, leather, and the lingering sharpness of pine cleaner. Shelves were stocked with hiking boots, compasses, first aid kits, and a wall of faded trail maps. Functional, lived in. Behind the counter stood a woman in her early 30s. Her hair was pulled back into a tight braid, her sleeves rolled up. She was restocking a display of water purifiers, hands moving in neat, practiced motions. "You Kara?" Tim asked. She looked up, sharp-eyed but not unfriendly. "Yeah?" "Tim Evans, reporter. I spoke with Deputy DeWitt. Said you were Kevin's sister." Her shoulders tightened slightly. "Yeah. I'm not here to stir things up," he added. "I just want to understand what happened." She hesitated, then nodded once. "Okay." Tim glanced around. "Can I ask when you last saw him?" "2 nights before he disappeared. He came by to borrow an emergency radio. His was busted. We talked gear, weather, nothing weird. He was excited, said he wanted to clear his head. That trail was his go-to. Anything unusual before that? Mood changes? Worries?" She paused. "He'd been quiet lately. Not sad, just distracted." This kept saying the fog was getting thicker than usual. Was he the superstitious type? Not at all. Kevin was science first. Thought ghost stories were crap. Tim nodded slowly. "Would you be okay showing me where he usually entered the trail?" Kara looked him over, then nodded. "Give me 10 minutes to lock up. I'll take you there myself." They reached Ridgewater Trail just past 3. Kara parked in a gravel turnout where a rusted metal sign, half covered in moss, read, "Ridgewater North Loop, 2. 7 miles." The fog here was thicker, pooling low like water that didn't want to leave. "I dropped him off right here," she said, gesturing toward the trailhead. "He said he wouldn't be long. Took the right fork." Tim noted the direction. "No security cameras? Trail monitors?" She shook her head. "Too rural. Closest ranger station's 15 miles south." They stepped past the sign. The dirt path was soft underfoot, muddy in places, though it hadn't rained that week. Tim glanced up. No sun. just layers of gray pressing down. About a quarter mile in, Kara stopped. This is where they found the dog. She came out alone. No sign of Kevin. Tim scanned the area. Trees grew in too tight, like they'd leaned toward one another over the years. The underbrush was thick, too quiet. No birds, no wind, just fog and silence. Kara folded her arms. You feel it, don't you? Tim nodded slowly. It's like the forest is listening. They kept walking. The trail narrowed the deeper they went, swallowed by overgrowth and choked pine. Kara moved with practiced steps, but even she slowed as the quiet pressed in. The further they got, the less the sound of their steps made sense, muffled like someone had laid down thick felt beneath the leaves. Tim stopped, held up a hand. What is it? Kara whispered. Do you hear that? She tilted her head. Nothing. No, that's the point. Not a bird. Not a squirrel. Not even wind brushing the branches. The air felt thick in the lungs, like breathing through cotton. Then Tim turned his head and froze. Just off the trail, no more than 15 feet away, a tree was bent nearly in half. Not broken, not dead. Just folded at an unnatural angle, the trunk arching toward the earth in a wide, silent bow. The bark was smooth, too smooth, like something had scraped it clean. Kara followed his gaze. That wasn't like that before. Tim stepped closer, slow. There were no footprints in the mud, no signs of rot or lightning, just one thing carved deep into the base, a circle, with a single vertical line through it. It looked like an eye, half shut. Tim didn't touch it. The fog thickened behind them. They were not alone. Kara crouched beside the bent tree, eyes scanning the roots. Her breath caught. Tim, she said quietly. He joined her. Half buried in the mud was a torn strap, nylon, frayed at the edge, bright orange, the kind used on a standard hiking backpack. Kara reached for it, then paused. Kevin always used this color, said it was easier to spot if he got turned around. Tim knelt and brushed more mud away. A broken clip was still attached, snapped clean through. There was no sign of the pack itself. No animal did that, he said. She didn't answer. The wind stirred. Only it wasn't wind, just the sensation of movement without sound. Tim turned quickly, but the trail behind them was empty. Still his skin prickled, like the air had learned how to watch, and then he heard it, a crunch, far off the trail, a single heavy footstep. Then silence. Kara finally turned to face him fully, arms still tense at her sides. We can't leave, she said. Not now. Kevin could still be alive out here. Tim's jaw tightened. I know what you're feeling, but whatever this thing is, it's not just disorienting people, it's hunting. He might have followed that voice and ended up trapped, she said. Or worse, if we walk away now, we're giving up on him. We're not giving up, Tim said. We're regrouping. Kara shook her head. You said you've seen things like this before. Then you know how fast they take people. If he's alive, he's running out of time. Tim stepped closer. His voice softened but didn't lose its edge. Exactly. Which is why we don't keep pushing in blind. I've watched people vanish chasing shadows. I've almost been one of them. Kara was silent, eyes searching his face. Her breath still came fast. If we retreat now, he continued, we can figure out what we're facing. Come back with something that works. Real tools, real protection. You said Kevin was logical, careful. He'd want you to be smart, not reckless. Kara looked down at the torn strap in her hand, still mud-streaked from the forest floor. Let's go back, Tim said. Talk to someone who knows how to fight things like this. I've got a contact. She might know what it is, what it wants. And if we move fast, we might have a shot at bringing him home. Kara hesitated. Then she gave a short nod. For Kevin, she said, but not for long. We come back. Tim nodded. We come back. They turned, the fog curling around them as they began the slow walk back to the trailhead. But Tim glanced over his shoulder one last time. The woods behind them were still, but not silent. Something had learned their names. And it was waiting. Back in town, the fog didn't lift. Tim and Kara moved quickly, silently, the trail's weight still on them. Neither spoke much on the drive. They didn't need to. The thing in the woods had spoken enough. At Hardy Outfitters, Kara locked the front door and drew the blinds. They set up in the back room, maps, books, Tim's laptop, a tablet glowing with folklore archives. Kara spread out a hand-drawn map of Ridgewater Trail. Here, she said, tapping the bent tree location, that's where the strap was found, and here's the stream where it lured me. Tim added quick notes, circling both. It's drawing people to boundaries, edges, places where sound echoes and vision breaks down. Liminal spaces, Kara murmured. Tim looked up. You know the term? College psych. We did a unit on folklore and belief systems, places where rules thin. He nodded, impressed. This fits, it mimics, isolates, coaxes. Kara leaned on the table. It didn't attack, it persuaded. Tim opened his notebook. Fog that distorts sound, carved symbols, missing time. It's not killing instantly, it's separating, making people choose to disappear. Kara rubbed her temples. Why? To feed. They both fell quiet. Tim nodded. I know someone who might confirm it. He pulled out his phone. Lenora answered on the third ring. I was wondering when you'd call, she said. You only reach out when you're up to your neck in old things that whisper. Tim didn't bother with pleasantries. We're dealing with a mimic, voice-based, lures people in fog, isolation, draws them off trail with voices that sound familiar. He heard the pause on her end, the kind of silence that means she already knew. You're in Whistler country, she said. Kara looked up sharply. You've heard of it? Lenora continued. Not a name you say lightly. They're rare, but old, older than most things. They don't just mimic voices, they echo the voice in your head. Tim pressed the phone tighter to his ear. It's not just a voice in the fog, Lenora. It tried to take her. It's hunting. Lenora didn't respond right away. Then, you said it uses voices, to separate them. Yes, it sounded like me. Kara almost followed it, a breath over the line. That sounds like a whistler, not the ghost kind, the old kind, rooted in earth, born from hunger, not memory. Tim glanced at Kara. She was frozen, listening. Lenora continued. They're not spirits, they're predators. It mimics, stalks, waits until you're alone, then it drags you deeper, and it feeds. How? Not fast, not all at once. It feeds slow, keeps people alive as long as it can. Pain keeps the meat fresher. Some survive, most don't. Kara looked sick. Tim's voice tightened. How do we stop it? This isn't ritual work, Lenora said. You don't trap it, you kill it. Tim straightened. How? It's vulnerable when it's revealed. You force it out, light, noise, iron, then destroy the body. Gun, blade, doesn't matter. Cut it, crush it, just don't let it vanish before it's done. And if it gets to you, then you better hope someone hears you scream. Tim sat in silence, the weight of Lenora's words sinking in. Thanks, he said finally. I didn't say good luck, she replied. You'll need more than that. The line went dead. Kara stood nearby, arms crossed tight. So what now? We get ready, Tim said, and we find out exactly where to go. He turned back to his laptop and dug into the archive again. Public records, local obituaries, police notes that hadn't made it to digital form. Then he found it, a 1991 clipping from a Marsh Hollow weekly. Local man missing after fog incident on Ridgewater Trail. Wife claims supernatural activity. Authorities dismiss claims. Tim clicked the name, Evelyn Graves. Still alive, still in town. He stood. We need to visit someone. Tim and Kara are on the way to Evelyn's, through deepening fog in a town that's starting to feel too quiet, too watched. Something knows they're coming. They pulled up to a weathered house on the edge of Marsh Hollow. Vinyl siding, long faded by seasons, windows curtained even at midday. A porch sagged at one corner, overrun with wind chimes that didn't ring. No sound carried here, just the low hum of the car engine and the heavy blanket of fog pressing in. Tim shut it off. Kara glanced at him. You think she'll talk? She's had 30 years of no one listening, he said. I think she'll be ready. They walked up the creaking steps. Tim knocked. A pause. Then the door opened half an inch. A thin face appeared, marked with years and silence. Eyes sharp, not cloudy. Watching. You're not local, the woman said. No, Tim replied. Tim Evans. I'm looking into Ridgewater. Kevin Hardy. Disappearances. I came across your name. Her eyes flicked to Kara. His sister? Kara gave a tight nod. Evelyn opened the door fully. Come in. The living room smelled like dried lavender and dust. Walls lined with photos, most black and white or sun-faded. A man stood in many of them, smiling, broad-shouldered, always beside her. He was taken in 91, Evelyn said, lowering herself into a rocking chair. Same trail, same fog, same damn silence. No one believed you. Tim said gently. No, she said. Said he wandered, slipped. Bears, the usual lies we tell to make the gaps seem less alive. Tim sat forward. Can you tell me what you saw? Evelyn's fingers curled around her tea mug, knuckles pale. It was his voice, not just the sound of it, the rhythm, the hesitation in how he said my name. That's what shook me. And then, I followed it, like an idiot. I thought he'd gotten lost, hurt. I walked past the creek, past the leaning pines, into the old stone hollow. That's where it pulls you, where it lives. Do you remember where? I do. I've drawn it 100 times in my head. I'll sketch it for you, but listen to me carefully, both of you. She looked between them. If you hear it, don't follow it. Evelyn's hand trembled slightly as she passed the sketch across the table, a rough map of the forest with landmarks drawn from memory. The stream, the bent pines, a circle she labeled the hollow. That's where it feeds, she said. Stone basin, natural, always damp. Sound doesn't behave right there, like it bounces too slow. Tim traced the route with his finger. How far past the stream? Half a mile, maybe less. There's a split log across the path. Looks like a bench. When you see it, turn east. You'll know when you're close. What do we need to bring? Kara asked. Light, iron, anything loud. Guns won't do much unless you hit something vital. Its skin's tough, but not invincible. Tim nodded slowly. You ever see it? Evelyn stared into the table, like the wood might answer for her. Only its mouth. I made the mistake of speaking back. It smiled. Didn't need to chase me after that. It already had my scent. They packed up in silence. Kara folded the map into her jacket pocket. Tim wrapped 2 blades in cloth, added flares, nails, a length of thick wire, and something personal, Kevin's broken strap, a tether. They drove back to the trailhead just before sundown. The fog was already waiting. As they stepped out of the car, Kara glanced toward the trees. You ready? She asked. Tim looked into the gray. No, he checked his gear. But let's go anyway. The woods swallowed them. The light fell away fast. What passed for sunset here was just a shift in the tone of the fog, from dull gray to bruised violet. The trees thickened. The path narrowed. They didn't speak. Every word might be used against them. Tim held a compass in one hand, Evelyn's map in the other. Kara moved beside him, breathing steady, but her jaw was locked tight. The trail passed the stream. They found the log, just like she said, split clean down the middle, like something had driven a blade through it. It didn't look like rot. It looked like warning. They turned east. 10 minutes later, the air changed. It felt heavier. Not colder, just wrong, like they were underwater. A root snapped under Tim's boot. Kara turned her head. Do you hear that? He froze. What? She strained. Nothing. Exactly nothing. No insects, no breeze. Even the fog didn't move. Then, faint, distant, Tim heard a voice. Tim. He didn't react. Kara tensed. That's not you, is it? No. It called again, softer, warped. Please. Kara gripped his sleeve. Kevin, that's Kevin's voice. It's not, Tim whispered. Remember what she said. It's not him. Something moved ahead, just past the trees. A figure, barely visible. Then it stepped behind a trunk and vanished again. Tim raised the flare in his hand, thumb hovering on the cap. If it charges, he said, run wide, circle back, hit it from behind. Kara nodded. Another voice rang out, closer this time. Help me. It was Tim's voice. Tim didn't flinch, but Kara did. She turned toward the sound before catching herself, fingers twitching at her side. That's you, she whispered. It's not, Tim said, firm but low. It's what it wants you to hear. The fog shifted again, thicker, closer, like breath curling in around them. A shape moved behind the trees, slow and circling, no footsteps. Just the suggestion of motion. Watching. Tim pulled the flare from his belt. I see it, Kara said. She pointed. Something hunched and wrong crouched beside a tree. Humanoid in outline, but stretched, limbs too long, head tilted at a crooked angle. It had no face. Not really. Just a shifting surface that rippled like wet fabric trying to decide what to become. Then it opened its mouth. There was no tongue, no teeth. Just a copy of Kara's voice. Please help me. Please, I'm lost. She staggered back a step, eyes wide. Tim struck the flare. A burst of red light seared the mist. The thing recoiled, shrieked, not like a person, but like a deer's cry pitched wrong. A hunting sound, reversed. Kara raised the iron rod from her pack and stepped in behind Tim. We finish this? We finish this. The whistler stepped forward, face still flickering between their voices. Then it ran, not away, straight at them. The whistler charged, fast, low, limbs splayed like a spider that had learned how to sprint. Tim lunged sideways, dragging Kara with him. The creature slammed into the dirt where they'd stood, claws digging into earth, mouth splitting open into something wide and lipless. Kara didn't hesitate. She drove the iron rod into its side. The whistler shrieked, its voice shattered into layers, a dozen screams overlapping. It twisted violently, knocked her backward, and turned to flee. Don't let it go, Tim yelled. They chased it, through thick trees, down a narrow slope, slick with moss and bones of leaves. The fog thinned for a breath, and then the world opened into a hollow. Stone walls, a shallow pit, and there, curled against the far wall, barely more than a shape, Kevin. Kara froze. Kevin? He didn't look up. Don't come close. His voice was ragged, shaking. His leg, what was left of it, was wrapped in part of his jacket. The rest of him was pale, dirty, starving. I'm here, she whispered. I found you. The whistler screamed behind them, still alive, clinging to the far edge of the pit. It tried to rise. Tim raised the flare. Kara stepped forward, picked up the rod again. They didn't speak. They struck together. Once, twice. The third hit caved in its chest. The fourth crushed its throat. It spasmed, arms flailing, voice gone. Then it went still. Tim waited. Counted to 10. No breath. No movement. Kara dropped the iron rod. She ran to Kevin, dropped to her knees beside him. He was shivering, but he clutched her hand. You're safe, she said. We're taking you home. No, Kevin whispered. Don't call it home. Not yet. Tim looked down at the body, then at the dark, slick patch of floor behind it. Bones, scraps of fabric, remains of the others. Burn it, he said, and they did. They carried Kevin out with whatever strength they had left. It took hours. The fog never lifted, but it didn't press down the same way anymore, like something in it had eased its grip. No more voices, no more pulling, just silence, and the sound of their breath, step by step, as they hauled him through the woods. They reached the trailhead near dawn. Kara's arms shook. Tim's shirt was soaked through. Kevin faded in and out of consciousness, murmuring fragments, memories, directions, names they didn't recognize. But he was alive. They got him to the emergency clinic just outside Marsh Hollow. The staff didn't ask too many questions, just saw the blood, the missing leg, and rushed him into surgery. Tim and Kara sat in the hallway, side by side, too tired to speak. A nurse eventually came out and said the words they needed. He's stable. Kara broke down. Tim didn't. Not yet. Later, back at the motel, Tim sat at the small desk with the lamp on low. Mist curled on the bed behind him, breathing slow and steady. He opened his notebook. Case 4, Marsh Hollow, Entity, Whistler. Method, mimicry, lures prey using loved voices. Weakness, fire, iron, direct confrontation. Lair, natural hollow, stone-based off Ridgewater Trail. Status, terminated. He wrote one final line. Kevin Hardy survived, barely. It didn't want him dead. It wanted to eat him slowly. Tim leaned back, closed the notebook. The fog was gone from the window. He decided to spend the rest of the night at the motel and hit the road at sunrise.